Yeah, the one, Rocky Mountain. Rocky Mountain Sports Report, yeah, live and direct. Keep 'em shook, defend like Bailey and Adam Foot, no joking. I'll block it out like Jokic, and now you see him blurry. Lost in the rain of threes from Jamal Murray. Oh, step up to the plate. Colorado landscape outstanding, reporting all the facts in. We out the park like black men, or better yet, Chuck Nasty, cause RMS all his family built up, yeah, like Ed McCaffrey. And we only got one rule, in my orange and blue, a mile high salute. So while the rest is lacking, I'm on my goals like stacking. Time to slaughter, be hitting hard like Atwater Gold Glove, 300 club like the Todd Father.
Hey everybody, this is David with Rocky Mountain Sports Report, here to let you know that Avicor Mobile Power Wash is an industry leader in commercial cleaning services. They specialize in washing commercial vehicles, including but not limited to tractors, trailers, bobcats, front loaders, rear loaders, pickups, and much more. Have an oil stain? Give Avicor a call. Oil spills? Call Avicor. Parking lot, sidewalks, and commercial containers. You know who to call. Avicor. If you need it clean and want the best prices in town, then give Avicor Mobile Power Wash a call at 303-585-1129. All right, good morning, Broncos country and Rocky Mountain Sports Report. This is David with the Denver Bronco pregame show, and I have with me Alexander, Slade, and Matt. How you guys doing today?
We're doing good. I think we may have just lost Alex, though.
Yeah, we definitely did. So Alex just popped off, so I guess that intro scared him or something. I don't know.
Technical difficulties, man.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
All right, definitely. All right, we got one guy in already, got this pregame pour-over going. Culico Regional Wash Guatemalan with rich milk chocolate tasting notes. Let's get this going. Boy, that sounds like some good coffee, man.
yeah. When can I get me some of that?
You a coffee drinker, Matt?
Oh, sometimes, occasionally.
All right. Alex, read this comment. Tell me if you know who this is, man.
Got my pregame pour over going. I don't know what the
Colico Regional. Yeah.
Regional Wash Guatemalan with rich milk chocolate tasting notes. Let's get this going. That's got to be my stepmom, Diana.
No, it's your uncle.
Of course it is. That is some bougie coffee that you would be.
So Matt, and he says you can get this coffee at Corvus.
All right, we're gonna have to check it out. Check it out.
All right, got a big game today. Hey Alex, wait. Last week was Alex's birthday. Alex was supposed to do something for us, and he didn't do it.
What was I supposed to do for you?
Oh, I forgot to.
Alex was supposed to do the Carlton dance for us on his birthday.
I
come on, Alex.
Time has come and gone for that to happen.
Come on, bust a move for us.
Oh man, you're really gonna make me do this? All right, give me 1 second.
Oh, he's gonna set it up. He's got the dance floor ready now.
Yeah. All right. No judgment, but. All right, there we go. That's enough of that.
All right, just a little Saturday morning humor for everybody. Hopefully that didn't chase any listeners off. So, all right, hey,
it might have been too scary for them.
Everybody out there, go ahead and shoot us your comments. Your thoughts on the game, what you think is going to happen, what the Broncos need to do. So first thing we're going to dive into, Drew Lock played a heck of a game last week. What do we have to do today to have the same kind of outcome against the Buffalo Bills? Matt, we'll go ahead and start with you.
So, I think I would hate to say it's rather simple, but I'm going to say it's rather simple. You got to stick to what's working. We found a system that was working last week with these check downs, short and intermediate throws, kind of taking the long bomb, out of the question, kind of forcing Drew to play less aggressive. He's a very aggressive, he wants to be a gunslinger. He wants to check it down 30 yards a time. So with this new scheme, I'm losing my words. put in last week against Carolina, we seen that it was effective. It helped him build fluidity, helped him feel comfortable. We were getting him out of the pocket rather than him leaving the pocket himself, which made him feel more comfortable. With when we left the pocket on his own power, we seen that he was very scattered. Feet weren't getting set. With these kind of play designs, we've seen that he was setting his feet significantly more than what he typically does, and we were seeing more accurate throws. And then with the checkdowns and these behind the line of scrimmage throws, we forced those safeties to come up and play against the line of scrimmage, leaving up bigger zones for him to have bigger windows to throw in. So accuracy wasn't having to be pinpoint on some of those throws. So I think this just stay the same, stay the course. Let's not get into a battle where we have to be. It's not about the battle of the gunslingers, guys. It's a battle of who has the better game plan.
Right. No, and I agree. And Alex, we've talked about this, and it's been all over the media, social media, and everything else, comparing Josh Allen to Drew Lock. What are your thoughts on a comparison between the two players?
So, in my opinion, I think that Drew Lock and Josh Allen are very comparable. I think they have the same arm talent. I think they have the same athletic ability. But it seems to me that Josh Allen is just a little bit more on the running side of his career at this moment. Drew Lock doesn't seem to be using his legs all too much, where Josh Allen has used that at times to get him out of some sticky situations. I really think that for them to both be young guys in new cities, obviously. You know, uh, just I think that they have a lot to compare to. Their arm strength is the same. Their tendencies seem to be the same. Early in Josh Allen's career, one of his biggest flaws was his footwork, and I believe that that's come to a solution in Buffalo, and I think that they gave him the right amount of time. And I would like to see that simulated here in Denver. I would love to see Drew Lock, back for a couple more years until we, finally or make the final call on Drew Lock. In my opinion, I think he needs some more time, and he could be a very good quarterback for us here in the future.
No, I agree. The Bills defense is giving up almost 66% completion rate to opposing quarterbacks. So I think that Locke really needs to take what they're going to give him. They have corners that one of them I think is past his prime in Josh Norman. He's still effective, but he's not what he used to be. And then you got Tre'Davious White on the other side, who sort of slipped back a little bit this year. So I think we can, win some battles against these guys. And
We definitely got the speed factor for the Broncos.
Right.
Wide receiver versus their corners. We definitely got the speed factor. But I think their most dangerous part of their secondary is actually going to be their safeties with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. That's where they're dangerous at, because that's where they eliminate the middle of the field. That's going to be Denver's hardest challenge, is trying, because we want to see Drew put the ball in the middle of the field. We want to see those 10 and ends, those quick slants, those drag routes across the middle of the field. If they're crashing the boards, they hit, man. That's what they do. They're there to rock your world as cleanly as they can. They're both nasty hitters. So Fant's going to be, if the game plan is to use Fant across the middle, Drew Lock, that's when Drew Lock's going to have to put that ball on him. We're going to have to see those feet plant and put the ball on him, or he's going to get somebody hurt. Because they headhunt, man. They hit hard.
Well,
go ahead,
to
Alex.
branch off what you were just saying about the, in the middle of the field being covered up with those two safeties. This is where Drew Lock's got to find edges. He's got to test those corners and put the ball on the outside of the field and let those receivers go to it. Whether that means comebacks, outs, whether.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Alex is having technical difficulties again. So.
Way with this young quarterback at Drew Lock, and he can attack those edges.
Yeah, another big key of their defense. They got Tremaine Edwards in the middle as well. So middle field's going to be difficult for us.
All right, looks like we dropped Alex again. So
yeah, I could try to clean up what he was saying. I got the gist of it. So yeah, he's absolutely right. It's going to be difficult to go across the middle of the field, especially with those safeties coming down, crashing the boards. They also got Tremaine Edmonds. All right, I'm pretty sure that's his first name. There's 3 Edmonds brothers, 2 in Pittsburgh, 1 here in Buffalo. So they got Edmonds in the middle. So I think the game plan is going to be to attack the flats.
Sorry, guys, did I lose you?
Yeah, we got you back now, Alex.
Yeah, and then do the outs like Alex was
All
saying.
right.
I think that's going to be Denver's biggest success in the pass game. They're going to have
Yeah,
to exploit the corner, put the
yeah,
corners on an island.
and I think what we're going to have to do, because you had mentioned before in our pregame or our pregame meeting, they like to bring pressure from the middle, and force quarterbacks out of the pocket, and get them uncomfortable. But if we can use those design rollouts, and drag, some tight ends and receivers across the middle, onto the sidelines and stuff like that, that's going to help Locke as well. But I think Locke needs to be patient like he was last week, take what they give him, and then we'll hit those big ones. If we draw those safeties up, we get KJ Hamler behind these guys, and we can hit those big plays again. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see Jerry Jeudy, get involved in the deep game as well today. So,
Yeah, the matchup's probably going to be KJ on Josh Norman, right? They're going to test him. If that's the matchup that Denver likes, that's what they're going to see. Whoever's on Norman's going to be the primary target.
right. So, and I agree there. So let's look at injuries really quick. So, because I think a key thing in the Broncos game plan today has to be the running game. So, and Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay are both banged up. They're both listed as questionable. They were both limited in practice all week. I think they're both going to go. I think Vic has said they're both going to go. But Alex, how much do you think them being banged up is going to affect their ability to run against this Carolina defense?
I mean, obviously, them being not as healthy as they can be is going to be a big drawback for us. I know that we look to running the ball to help our young quarterback. So, what we really need to do now is truly split snaps. You see one Philip Lindsay for 2 plays, and you see Melvin Gordon for 2 plays. You got to make it consistent because, I mean, if you get one of them hurt, then they're going to be carrying the whole workload. And another thing I would see, maybe we see Booker come in a little bit more today, try to relieve some of that pressure off this backfield, and maybe he can get something going. And if he can, that's going to be a big difference maker for us in this game.
I think you meant
Freeman.
Freeman.
Freeman, sorry.
Yeah,
That's all right.
Booker's a Raider now, man. Uh-oh.
So no, that's all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
So no, that's quite all right. So hey, we got another one agreed so much. I think they were talking about how we need to utilize Locke in our offensive game plan. Just let you guys know again, if you're watching the stream in a Facebook group, you either one have to give StreamYard or permission to use your Facebook name, and there's a link in the invite. Other words, just put your name after the post so we know who it is. So yeah, I agree. I think Freeman didn't even get in the game last week, and maybe we need to use him a little bit more, especially if these two are banged up a little bit. But
No,
and
by
I
no
think
means, I do not mean go and give him the workload, though. I do not think that that's the strategy we go. Maybe 5 to 10 carries at max, I think, would be the best for Freeman in this game.
right. I agree. He's not going to be our predominant runner today, our featured back, but I think, yeah, we should probably get him in. I don't know why he wasn't used in the game plan last week. So, but hopefully Gordon, isn't really that bad. Gordon has, I think Shermer's really learned how to use Gordon effectively. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, so they're setting him up pretty well. They got him running on the off tackle, a lot of off tackle plays, which has been working very well for him. We've seen him be the primary back on pull plays. So when we're pulling either the right or left guard, or sometimes even the center across, and he's got the lateral quickness to get around that edge, and then that's when we're seeing him get those chunk plays of 6 to 10 yards, getting those first downs, things like that. Making if the runs on first down at 2nd and 4, 2nd and 2 is a lot more manageable, and we've been that's kind of been our go-to play on 1st and 10, especially early in the game. So it's just been working really well for Melvin Gordon.
Okay. Let's switch over to defense now when Buffalo has the ball. Well, we know their biggest threat is going to be the passing game, and we know who their biggest threat is going to be is Stephon Diggs. So, Alex, what do you think we need to employ as a game plan to slow him down? And go ahead,
Uh,
Alex. We'll
I
start with
think
that question.
I think we just got to limit the chunk plays. If you're gonna, whatever it has to happen to get Stephon Diggs out of his rhythm on those long bombs, I don't think that we got to do it. We got to make it happen. And whether that means, putting a safety over the top of him the whole game, double teaming him, sometimes having three eyes on him, whatever it's got to do, we've got to watch him because he can make a difference in this game, and he will if you let him. Another thing that we're gonna have to do to disrupt this passing game is we're gonna have to get some pressure on Josh Allen, and that's gonna affect the rhythm that him and his receivers have, and that's just gonna mess up their whole game plan if they can't find a way to
Right.
get in rhythm. So
So, Matt, Stephon Diggs, likes to work out of the slot. And we really don't have a slot cornerback.
No,
So,
we
um,
don't have one right now.
how do you defense him? I think we're going to probably throw Hairston out there in the slot. Is that what you're thinking?
It's gonna have to be either Hairston or Bosby. They're the only ones that fit. They're the closest ones to like the physical requirements of the position. They're the closest. They're the smaller. They both are. They're the smallest and the lightest we have on the roster right now that are available to play. So it's just going to be. We know Ojemudia. He can't. He's just too long, too lanky. He just wouldn't be successful. Doesn't have quick enough hips to be in the slot. So I'm not sure. I think it's going to be Bosby or Hairston. I think Bosby's been playing outside, so they'll probably leave him there. So Hairston's probably your safest bet. But the dude hasn't played all season, so it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. I don't think we go to man coverage though. I think we stay away from man coverage.
So you think we're going to sit in the zone?
Yeah, we're going to switch it up and go zone, because
Now let me interrupt you there. And I know we're short, on players, but Pittsburgh tried to employ that same philosophy last week, and Buffalo tore them up. I mean, they found holes in their zone and just beat them. So, do you think that's our best strategy?
I don't think either one is really favorable. I mean, you're going to try both. They're going to try. I mean, I don't think they're going to stay in zone the whole time. They're going to go in with, the idea we're going to see which one's working better. But at the same time, when we play man, let's say you play man with Stephon, you have a safety falling over the top. That's fine. They're going to, we're shutting down him, but then you're just opening up routes for Cole Beasley. And then, the unsung hero here potentially is going to be their tight end, Dawson Knox. We know historically how bad we are at covering tight ends. We've seen it with, Travis Kelce just tore us up. Most recently tore us up in the ties of tight ends. We just can't cover tight ends. It's just been our defensive kryptonite for the last 5 seasons. So if we're emphasizing so much on Stephon Diggs, they're going to eat us alive with Dawson Knox because he's fast. He's a quick tight end. He's got good hands. He's not a very good blocker. He's got great inline speed. They like to line him up outside too. Lining him up, if they put all the emphasis over there on Stephon across the middle and Justin Simmons is tailing him or setting up that coverage across the middle, that's going to leave, your smaller corner like Bosby or Hairston one-on-one with Knox going down the
Right.
line. And that's not a favorable matchup for
Right.
for the Broncos.
Right. I mean, Alex, what do you think? Can we take one of our backers, and put them on Knox and hopefully they can slow him down? Or do we maybe take Jackson and make that his assignment? I mean, what are your thoughts on how to handle the tight end situation? Because Matt's right. We struggle all the time against tight ends. So, and we need to slow him down.
right, and most of the time when you see those tight ends getting the best of this Denver defense is with a linebacker on them. I know that linebackers are usually not as athletic, but honestly, I wouldn't mind if we saw someone like Alexander Johnson go out there and run with Knox. Or, for the most part, I would like to see Jackson on Knox too. Just mix it up. I think that if we give them one straight look, it's going to be too predictable. They're going to know how to, find ways to get him the ball regardless of who we pick. So I think if you go out there and you kind of mix it up for him, you switch it up with who you have guarding him, then it kind of makes it a little harder to predict where you're going with the football. And, maybe that's where our defense could come up big for us.
Right.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'd say compared to Pittsburgh, so Pittsburgh's a great defense on their own, but the one thing that we tend to do better is create the interior pressure. So they have great edge rushers. Their interior pressure isn't the greatest. Their tackles. We don't have marquee star players there, but that's been the one thing we've been consistent at all season, having creative ways to create interior pressure while staying in man or zone. So the best way for the defense to be successful, we could talk about coverage all you want, but if you don't have the interior pressure, and you to get onto Josh Allen, because as soon as he gets the pressure, he senses he's got to run. But you also got to remember we got Malik Reed and Bradley Chubb on the edges. They can't overcommit to the blitz. They have to stay home and trap him in the pocket. That's going to be our best way to success. Josh Allen's not accurate in the pocket. He likes to roll out to either side, kind of plant his feet, and then that's when he hucks it 45 yards down the field and burns you with Stephon Diggs. So it's going to be, if you keep him in the pocket, that's going to be the key to victory. It's not. I don't think it's going to be so much on the coverage. It's going to be, what do we do to make him feel uncomfortable?
Right. Yeah. And I think you're right. We need to bring that pressure, and those edge guys, they have to stay, focused and stay to their assignment and just not want to crash down so quick,
Yeah, it's all about the trap.
Contain is what you got to do. And they really need to do that today, because like you said, if he gets out on the edges, he's more dangerous than he is in the pocket. And I think if we keep him in the pocket, we can get Shelby Harris to get his big old mid up there, and knock the ball down, maybe once or twice today. So how do we bring pressure on him? I mean, Josh Allen's been sacked 24 times today. Josh Allen, I noticed and we don't even have to sack him, but at least bring the pressure, because it seems like the more pressure he gets, mental mistakes happen. He'll throw bad balls and stuff like that. So, Alex, I mean, do we go with just, a 3-4 man rush and try to put pressure on him so we can keep enough people back there? Are we going to want to, bring extra people every now and then? Fangio's been a little more aggressive with the blitz. I mean, so what are you looking for today, Alex?
I'm going to look for our primary pressure to come from our front four. I think that with the matchups that we have on the offensive and defensive line, and I think that this Denver defense is too talented to be held up by someone like this team. I know that their offensive line isn't necessarily a bad one, but I just think we have the better talent, and I think that our four up front are going to get it done. I can expect to see. Obviously he's going to call some blitzes. We're going to have extra people coming at times, but I would say that Bradley Chubb is going to be a big factor in this game, especially if they start pulling those across the line stunts where he falls down into the interior line and then comes right after the quarterback. Then I could definitely see him getting a couple sacks and being disruptive in this game.
Yeah, but like we said, I think we need to limit those two, because once Buffalo figures that out, then Josh Allen's just going to bounce outside, and then we're going to put a lot of pressure on our cornerbacks to.
Well, it's about being creative. That's why when I first said it, it's all about. That's why I think the zone defensive scheme is going to work a little bit better. We're weak in the secondary. We have pretty decent linebackers. We got a great interior pressure. With zone, you can be creative with where you're sending your blitzes from. You could send a safety from the outside. You could send one of your linebackers to the A gap. There's delayed blitzes like we've seen happen with where Kush left home last week and Drew Lock got obliterated. There's tons of that zone scheme allows them to have a little bit more creativity with how they're sending pressure. Like I said, we'll probably see a good mix of both, but I think when we see a lot of the additional pressure or the additional rushers, it's going to be when we're coming out of that zone scheme rather than your traditional where you send the house and it's every man for himself. We just don't have the player matchup we'd want for that kind of situation.
No, understandable. So, and I think Vic really needs to be creative in how he runs his defense today, and maybe bring some things that Buffalo hasn't seen yet. And that's one thing Vic is good. Vic's good at throwing in a wrinkle, every game, that isn't on film from previous games. So I think we need to do that. I like the fact that Vic's getting a little more aggressive. So hopefully the defense, stays playing that way. Give up yards between the 20s. I don't really care. Buffalo could have 500 yards as long as we have good red zone defense. And I think that's where we can really beat them. What do you think, Alex, is if, let them get the yards in between, the 20s or the 25s, and then tighten up our red zone defense. What do you think, Alex?
Well, I mean, it's worked for us all year. I think that our red zone defense has been, top notch. We can't really ask for much more than what they've been doing in the red zone. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that I would like to see them just give up useless yards, but if that's what's going to win us the football game, I get it. Yeah, let them have whatever they want in between the 20s, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is after those 20 yards. So, if we can keep the score low and, Drew Lock finds his rhythm early and this defense finds a way to stop this offense, then yeah, I don't see any problem with what was just said.
So, Matt, what do you think? I mean, do you think that's a good philosophy? Just, I mean, of course, we don't want to just let them run up and down the field, but once we get into the red zone, I mean, do you sort of go away from a zone defense philosophy then? Or are you a little more man at that time?
No, I would still stick to the zone. When you're that compressed, you have less area to cover. So you have you so your zones get smaller. So you have more players in a more crowded space. There's more more chances for the quarterback to make a mistake, especially if you're sending that blitz up the A gap, that delayed blitz, things like that, a safety from the outside. You're having so much more room for him to make an error. So I think you stay in zone. We don't have the speed guys to stay with Stephon Diggs across the middle. We just don't. Cole
Right.
Beasley's a slot. He's a route technician. Same thing. We have this. If Harrison's a guy in the slot, all it takes is a quick stutter step and in. And next thing you know, they got say Justin Simmons is too far back because he's playing his zone in man coverage. Because typically your safeties are always in zone even when you're playing man, unless they're lined up with a tight end. So they're covering their. It's like, let's say use cover two. So they're covering the back ends of the end zone. All it takes is one quick stutter, and the next thing you know, there's touchdown, 15,
Yeah.
14.
Do you think we, probably go with more of a nickel and bring Will Parks in as well, let him play nickel corner, and we have a little more to help with that zone and help, cover some of these crossing routes and things like that?
It all depends on how they line up as well. It's going to depend on how they're lining up. If they're lining up big, we can't go a nickel because then they're just going to pound us to death.
Right.
Devin Singletary is he's kind of an elusive guy. Zach Moss, he's a big physical runner. Yeah, they would eat us alive if we go too small and they're staying big. It's not going to be a good matchup either. So and we have to remember the Bills head coach. He's a defensive mastermind himself. So
Right.
this is where it's going to be a challenge for Vic. Is this guy has tons of defensive experience as well. That's his forte. He's not an offensive guy. So it's going to be the battle of like this defensive mindset. And unfortunately, their offense is flowing better than what ours is overall, except for, last week we looked great, but that's been the first week where we've actually looked fluid. So it's just going to be a battle of that defensive mind. Who's going to have the better setup when we're down in the red zone? Denver's been favorable in those matchups lately, though. We're one of the best red zone defenses in the league.
Yeah, we have, and we need to continue that to have a chance, because it's like last week when we played Carolina, and I can't remember the receiver's name, but you can remind me, Matt. And Matt, you even said this. He's going to get his yards. We just got to limit the big plays, and that's the same thing we have to do with Stephon Diggs. Stephon's going to get his catches. He's going to get his yards. We just have to limit the big plays, and don't give up these back-breaking, plays where it's a 60-yard touchdown or something like that. So our safeties are definitely going to have to stay home and provide that, over the top help and not let these guys get behind them.
Well, this is where I look for Justin Simmons to make a big impact. Today he's, one of our veteran leaders, even though he hasn't been here that long. I look for him to make a huge impact on this game because of, his help over the top and everything like that. So we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, and Matt, I think we lost your audio.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh,
I was
okay.
I kind of lost you guys for a second too. So I was saying the receiver you were talking about was Robbie Anderson.
Okay, that's
all I
right.
said.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I mean, Denver's defense is going to have their hands full, but I like their chances. I mean, this defense, in my opinion, they've lived up to the challenge almost all year. I mean, they've had a couple games, where it got away from them, and I'm going to say a lot of that was they were forced on the field so long because the offense was, was inept and couldn't move the ball and 3 and outs, and just putting the defense in bad positions with turnovers. So if Denver can, move the ball a little bit, keep Buffalo on the sideline and keep our defense fresh, I definitely like their chances. I mean, I know we're going to give up some plays, but we just have to limit what we give up. So special teams. How do you guys think special teams are going to play into this game? We saw what Spencer did last week. I mean, Alex, I mean, you thinking we're going to need another play like that to me, maybe spark this team and get this team going?
Well, I mean, it doesn't not help. We could always use a play like that. So I do think that the special teams, obviously, they found something that worked for them. I don't know what the coach was telling them or what happened in that week at practice, but last week they came together and that was a group effort on that touchdown. I know Spencer looked great on the return. He did what he had to do, and he has the speed that kills. But I think that was just a group effort. The blocking was there. The whole kind of idea was there. So I think that if we can find a way to make a play like that, that'll make a huge impact on this game. And even if it doesn't result in a touchdown, it just flips the field in our favor. That could be a big chunk yardage gain for us.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're giving up over 9 yards a return. Buffalo punt unit is so. If Spencer can get some room to make a first guy miss, Matt, then I like his chances to give us some good field position or take one to the house.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, field position is key when it comes to the punts and stuff. So if we can flip the field on them, it only helps our offense even more. We don't always need to expect those like a touchdown to be the momentum changer. If we got a flashy return, it's enough to get your guys pumped and motivated to want to push it down into the end zone. Staying on special teams, though, we know Brandon McManus is not going to be playing today. Taylor Russolino, I've very limited tape on him. I mean, he's made it to this level, so I mean, he's got to have a leg. Is it accurate or is it power? I don't know. I don't know what his strength is.
He came from Arena Ball?
No, the AAF.
The AAF. Okay, all right. So I was going to say, well, if he came from Arena Ball, he must be a little more accurate because I mean they have those skinnier field goals. So, but yeah, hopefully he can come through in the big moments when we need him to.
Just make the PATs. Make the PATs.
Yeah, we can't miss 2 PATs again, and I think this may change Vic's, philosophy on longer field goals and stuff. So Sean wants to know if the AAF is a wrestling league. So no, that was the XFL.
XFL, FXFL.
AAF was supposed to be legit, and it was going to be almost like a farm system for NFL teams, but unfortunately, COVID and other things have caused it to go by the wayside. So who knows? Maybe in the future we'll have a minor league football system, for some of these smaller cities that don't have teams in a place to develop players. So.
That'd be interesting.
So, all right. Special teams, I think, are going to play a huge part in this game. I think the way Fangio, thinks when it comes to long field goals and stuff like that is probably going to be different too. I don't know how much trust or faith he's going to have in this guy. So we'll see how things go with that.
How much faith and trust can you have in a guy you haven't known very long? So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think we trust with anything over 40.
Right. No, and I mean, what, 3 weeks ago
and he barely trusted McManus as it is. So
exactly. Yeah,
that's right. So I mean, so what do you think, Matt? Does that cause us to pooch punt a little bit more, or is Fangio a little more aggressive and he goes for it?
It all depends on where you're at on the field.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, if you're on like the 40, you're on 45, yeah, we're probably going to see, or sorry, like 40-ish, you're probably going to see those pooch punts. But, if you're on the 35, maybe, and it's fourth and short, you go for it. If
Right.
you don't trust if you're not trusting your kicker. So it,
Okay.
it and Vic likes to get aggressive. I mean, like we've mentioned it this like 100 times already. The season's pretty much a wash. What do you have to lose?
Right. Yeah. All you're doing now is you're building momentum for next year. I think you're checking out players. So, Alex, I'm starting to think you don't like us, man. You keep popping out and
Nah, just
everything else. So,
terrible connection down here and at
in the cave.
my home base. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, so Alex does this thing every week, getting to know your Broncos. So today he got another one. We're gonna go ahead and shoot this video out there. We'll watch it, and then Alex will talk to us a little bit about this player. All right.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
that was
go ahead,
that's my boy
Alex.
Tim. That's my boy Tim Patrick. Just a great receiver, I think. Not been in the league long. Started his career in 2017. Originally being drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, and then shortly coming over here to Denver after. Just a big-bodied receiver, strong, physical. Just he goes out there and he gives it 100% every time you ask him to come on the football field. And I think he's been underrated here the last couple of years in Denver, and I think that he's a big part of our offense.
So, all right, Alex, your Uncle Sean wants to know if you're running off a dial-up modem down there. So, so,
I bet you that'd work a little better than my connection. So
yeah, definitely. So, hey, Matt, how big of a part do you think that? Sorry, I got a phone ringing down here. How big of a part do you think Tim Patrick needs to play in the receiving game today?
I think we'll see him be if we get trapped in that red zone. I think that's when we'll see him be used the most. He's our biggest receiver we got. It's going to be him and Fant as the primary targets in the red zone. So I mean, we have seen him be useful across the middle. So if Fant's getting is behind beat up too bad, we could see him take a good fair share of those middle routes as well, those crossing routes.
Okay, yeah, I think he is gonna. I like him because he can go up and get the ball too. So I don't like. Unfortunately, I don't know if I really like Drew's chances on 50-50 balls. I just don't think he has the accuracy yet. In his career to really be challenging some of these cornerbacks. So I agree. So. Sorry, I got a technical problem here. Matt, I'm going to need you to take over really quick. I got a technical issue, and I'll be right back.
Okay, you're good, man. All right. So, oh man, I get to be the lead. Oh man, I'm nervous. They put
and
me.
then
He
there
put
were
me on.
two. So
He threw me in the spotlight unexpected. No, so Alex, I think we've hit on a lot. A lot of things. We've already broken down each field of um each side of play: offense, defense, special teams. I think the biggest thing I think you and I were talking about in the group chat last night is we cannot allow this to become a Allen versus Locke showdown. They're both gunslingers. Locke's got to stay true to his game plan. he's a competitive guy. Do you think he's able to rein in that aggressiveness and stay away from that gunslinger mentality today?
Well, see, I think he's so competitive that, I really do believe that he can kind of dial it back, be the guy he needs to be for this team and, just do what this team needs to do. Honestly, I look for the similar game plans as the last few weeks because one, it worked against Kansas City pretty well. We were in the game with them, and then it worked against Carolina pretty well as well. So I looked for the offense coordinator to, kind of simulate and copy those two offensive game plans and get Drew Lock in a rhythm early to get him going. And then, as we seen last week, he only threw the ball downfield three separate times, and all three of them he completed. And that's what a game should look like for Drew Lock right now because of the fact that he has struggled throwing the long ball and that, just he hasn't taken what the defense has given him. And I think that now he's learning to do that. He sees what it does for him later in football games, and it helps him out a lot.
Yeah, he contributed a lot of that to Brett Rippon, sitting him down with him and saying, like, dude, you're gonna lose your job unless you learn to check it down. He's like, you're not gonna be successful. There was a pretty good transcript that was released. I don't remember it word for word, but so he credited Brett Rippon and Pat Shermer for a lot of that, check down talk and said, it has to be your focus. Quarterbacks live and die in the 5 to 10, not the 30s. So, um, I hope he can stay away from that gunslinger mentality. I really do. I mean, this isn't the team you want to do it against. Um, th- this is a team you can make mistakes relatively easy against. Like I mentioned, Bill's head coach is a great defensive mind. He has very confusing zone schemes that they use. That's why you see Tremaine Edmonds get like a pick every game. It feels like.
Mhm.
They also, I don't know if Milano's playing, but he's also a very good linebacker. They know how to stay home, sit in the zone, confuse the quarterback with the interior pressure like we do, and then that's when we see mistakes happen.
Right.
Um, I know you. So one of the other comparisons we kind of talked about was the mobility. Do you feel that Drew could be as mobile as Allen, or do you think this system hinders that?
So I just think that the system that he works in doesn't really call for him to be as mobile. I know that he does design rollouts and he uses his legs to get outside the pocket, but unless it's really needed on a long third and down play or fourth down play where we're going for it, I haven't seen Drew Lock really use his legs all that much. And I think that he could. I think he's athletic enough. He played basketball. He's obviously a football player. I just think he has the athletic ability to be that guy. But right now in his career, I think they're kind of doing the one foot in front of the other kind of thing, focusing on his arm strength and his footwork. And then later on in his career, I look for him to be a little bit more mobile and maybe gain a little bit more rushing yards and attempts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and last season we seen him be using the RPO system a little bit, which helped him be more mobile. We haven't seen that as much this season. I know that's coordinator change and things like that. So, I mean, I do think he could be successful as a runner. I would advise him to stay away from it. He's not necessarily a small guy, but compared to someone like Josh Allen's stature, who's got about probably 30 pounds on the dude, Josh is more built
Right,
for it.
right.
And with the durability issues with Locke we've seen, I would hope he stays away from it. But that doesn't mean you can't get those 5 to 10 yard chunk plays on a scramble, things like that. But I don't know if designed run would be in the best interest of his longevity if we intend for him to be the franchise quarterback. But
Right.
we can see it
Well, and,
happen,
and
man.
if we can hone in on his arm skills and his footwork and we can make it to where he doesn't really have to use his legs, I'm okay with that, because,
Yeah.
in all reality, there's only one quarterback or two quarterbacks in the league every year that are beating teams with their legs, and that's Lamar Jackson. And, some would argue Baker Mayfield or, other, Kyler Murray. But
Oh yeah. What
Drew
about
Lock's neither
your
one.
Sam Darnold, man? What about that 65
Oh, yeah.
yard rush?
Yeah, I tried to forget about that. I don't like thinking about that. So,
uh,
um,
yeah.
but Drew Lock's neither one of those guys. We know it here in Denver. He knows it in his mind. He's nowhere near Kyler Murray or Jamal or
Lamar
sorry,
Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Sorry. So it's just we just got to know the talent that we have here in Denver, and we got to make it work for us. I know that this is I think our ninth quarterback since Peyton Manning. Um, and it's time to, break the mold and hold on to a guy, develop him and make him your guy. I know that he's not, the best looking quarterback. He's obviously not a finished product, but if you want someone who's going to be there for you, I guarantee you, Drew Lock is going to be your guy. So,
Okay, yeah, that is a fair point. So something I kind of wanted to touch on. We talked about it in the group chat a few times. So there's quite a few articles circling around. They're all opinion pieces, of course, about John Elway. Well, just a little background: John Elway is in his contract year for being general manager. We have the ownership issues going on. Uh, do you feel that John Elway wants to stay committed to such a young quarterback, with this being his potential last chance to make a big bang or splash in the playoffs? Or do you think he
I
wants to
mean,
chase a veteran?
I mean, if
It's the
we
talk
know
around this
anything
town
from
right now.
right, and if we know anything from John Elway is that he's going to repeat history. He obviously went out and got Peyton Manning. I would not doubt him going out and getting another veteran quarterback to make this roster better for 1 year or 2 years. But I mean, what's that really doing to help your organization? He's got to ask himself that. I know that you want to win now, and that's great. We love winning championships here, believe you me. But I mean, at the end of the day, I want to see longevity. I want to be like the New England Patriots, where they have a dynasty. I want to be that team. And I'm sure everybody here feels the same way. But at the end of the day, if we keep going out and signing all these quarterbacks that are only here for 1 or 2 years, that's just setting the tone for next year to be a failure. Because I mean, you have to go find a new quarterback. You have to make sure he fits in your system, and if he doesn't, then you just wasted a whole year. So at the end of the day, is it really helping anyone to go out and win now when you could be patient and develop someone who could be your quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years?
I tend to agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that. So I'll pose two more John Elway questions, as we kind of covered the game pretty extensively. So with John Elway's, we mentioned his kind of knack for tackling these veteran quarterbacks. Do you think that there is a kind of a thought in his head that with the ownership changing, this is realistically probably going to be his last year as a general manager? And do you think, with that being said, do you think he really cares about the longevity, or do you think he cares about making the splash for his personal game, based on
I
his
mean,
track record in the past? This is a tough question,
yeah.
but I get it.
Yeah, yeah, it is a tough question. I think John Elway does care about this team. Obviously won 2 Super Bowls here. I think that him and Pat Bowlen were as close as people could be, I would assume, working together every day, doing their thing. Um, and the fact that, he's lived here basically his whole life. He loves it here in Denver. His home's here in Denver. Um, I don't think he would ever purposely go and do the wrong thing for Denver, but on the other end, I do think that sometimes he puts his personal agenda before the team's agenda. And we see, I mean, obviously he got a Super Bowl 50 ring. That's awesome. I'm happy. I was happy when we won, but look at the turmoil we're in now. And if, I mean, one day we're going to go through this, and I mean, we're going through a tough time with the ownership problems that we're having now, and the fact that we're not winning football games. It just this is the kind of stuff that gets teams sold to a different state or moved to a different state. I just don't think it's a good look going down this path. Is if we keep repeating history, eventually something's going to fold, and you know, we might find us, a disbanded Bronco team.
Yeah, that's also a good point. So Dave, just to fill you in, thanks for we got Dave back. Woohoo! The host is back.
Oh yeah.
We kind of shifted gears a little bit.
Fall off?
I'm sorry. Can you see that one more time?
Did you guys not fall off?
No, we stayed on.
No.
Oh, because I lost my whole internet over here.
Yeah, we
Oh,
were.
man.
We according to this, we never left live.
Hey,
So
then, because I
Who's
sent a
who,
on Facebook saying sorry, we lost our internet, trying to get it back up. So now I know if the host gets bumped, the show still goes on, even
yeah.
if it's in his modem.
hey.
So what we did was we shifted gears a little bit. We had already broken down, the three phases of football:
Right.
offense, defense, special teams. We switched over to something that we kind of had in our group chat that's come up recently with the John Elway questions. Does he deserve the extension? Does he not? That was going to be the question I'm going to pose to him here in a second. But we talked about his commitment to the team, and what is the true commitment to Drew Lock, with it being the last year of his contract and those not being a guarantee of another one. We had a brief conversation of, is it if you're in Elway, is the voice in the back of his head saying, do I care about the longevity or do I care about the potential championship in my last year? And Alex kind of sided on the side of longevity. I'm up in the air. I could see it going both ways. But I would hope has the longevity of the Broncos franchise in the back of his head.
Well, let me ask this question. It's not a given that Elway's gone.
No.
You know, I think a lot of people are upset with and I mean, going on what our fifth losing year now, fourth or fifth in a row. I mean, this isn't something we're used to in Bronco country, and a lot of people are just making the assumption that Elway's gone after his contract's up. So who knows? I mean, with a new owner group, they may want to keep Elway. I don't know. I mean,
history
but
doesn't
let me ask you this
support that very well.
along with that question that you just asked, the longevity. We also, if there's new ownership coming in and out and they're looking to buy a team, I mean, are you going to look at the Denver Broncos and tell me honestly that you want to buy them right now? Like
sure.
that
Yeah,
consistent for losing. I mean, I know you would, but as a buyer who's, looking at a team who's been consistently losing for the last 4 years, I mean, is this really a team that you want to buy into at this moment? I mean, I know that there are plenty of people standing in line, but you got to think, I mean, are those going to be the quality people to turn this organization around?
Well,
It all
go ahead,
depends.
Matt.
No, I was going to say, it really all depends on who you're bringing in and what their mentality is. If they're looking at this as an investment, then if the NFL is a revenue-based league, the successful teams are the ones where the revenue comes from. So let's use Jeff Bezos as an example. That's one of his biggest things is how do I create revenue and how do I see financial gain and how do I disperse it evenly, because he's a community guy. He, from everything we hear, he's a great guy. So using him as an example, I would feel that he would come in, clean house, because I think that's why when we talked about the longevity versus veteran for Elway, I think that's kind of why I would be more on the fence for Elway first right now. Because if you bring in a guy like Bezos, he's gonna probably want a clean house. He's gonna want his type of guys in there, that his personality group, ones that are gonna be focused on winning championships and getting involved in the community. It's not about the self-image; it's about the team image. So if we get an owner like that, that's why I don't envision Elway coming back. History doesn't support that when new ownership comes in, the GM stays around, unless it's like like Dorsey or someone like that, who's been a successful GM, like had that track record of being successful for like 100 years.
Right.
You just don't typically see them stick around.
And I think I know what's fueling this is there's an article out there on Predominantly Orange about Lou. I can't remember his last name.
Scatagolia or something.
Yeah, wrote this article about Elway. Is one of the more successful GMs in the NFL. So.
I called it an opinion-based article. I just didn't feel
it is opinion-based.
Yeah.
There were no facts in there to back up his claims. Yeah, I think Elway's gone. I don't think he's coming back. I see where Matt's coming from with Elway. Wants to go out with a bang. Elway wants to bring in a quarterback. And he's gonna, and hopefully somebody steps in and says, "No, you're not doing that."
Trust has the power,
right? And that would take the.
There's also factors that are going to stop him from doing that, and that's we talked last week about the cap space that we're going to have, and the fact that the only thing wrong on this team is not just a quarterback position. Obviously we have holes in the secondary. We have holes in our defensive line. We have depth problems. Our wide receiver core is a little diminished right now. There's other problems here that I think that are far beyond 1 year's worth of fixing. I don't think the Broncos have a realistic, or I don't think that it's realistic to think that the Broncos are going to be contenders here within the next 2 years. So the fact that John Elway may want to make a splash, but I just don't think that splash is going to happen because of the fact that this team is falling. And
one thing we have to remember, though, Elway's mentality has always been revamp over rebuild.
Right.
And I don't think that would change even in his final year. Because technically, us as fans, most of us can recognize that, we're on the brink, but a lot of that brink is based on luck and minor successes, things that we can't account for. But this team is very young. It's very so young comes with inexperience. So quarterback, offense is very inexperienced. There's a lack of leadership. We've hit on that. There's so
Right.
many factors to where yes, we could be considered a fringe playoff team if everything is working in our favor and momentum's there. But as for a team standpoint, we're closer to rebuild. Well, we technically kind of are already rebuilding. We're just not accepting it. We're
Right.
investing in youth. We're investing in depth. We haven't seen it pay off because injuries killed us this season. But
Yeah, injuries definitely did. And I think, not this team not having the whole offseason to work on a new offensive scheme and things like that. So now if Elway, decides he wants to just, throw away the I guess the future for chasing another title before he either retires, which if he's gone, I think they're going to allow him the opportunity of retiring instead of just saying, "Oh, well, you were fired." So,
well, I mean, he technically wouldn't be firing. His contract would just
that's
expire.
true. His contract is up.
It would
So.
just be a mutual agreement to part
Right.
ways.
But everybody knows how that looks. I mean, everybody's like, well, they didn't want to renew him, so he's pretty much fired. So they would probably let him say, yeah, I'm going to retire. But
What if Elway leaves?
if he leaves,
what if someone offers him a job at the end of that contract?
Well, hey, good for him.
I'm just saying, you never know.
No, you never do know. But what I'm trying to say is, if Elway really cares about the longevity of this team, or even trying to win a title next year, bringing in a quarterback isn't the answer, because that's gonna hamper your ability to sign some of these other key free agents that we have. So if you go out and chase a Matt Stafford or a Matt Ryan or somebody like that, that's going to cost you $25 million a year. Guess what? There goes Justin Simmons. There goes Von Miller.
That's where we had. That's where we had that conversation last week. Is it
right?
Is it worth to have? Is it the Von for Stafford? That's the only realistic one out of the veterans to where the salaries match up. Is it worth it? Is Von worth Stafford, and is Stafford worth Von for us? And that's going to be the decision that Elway has to make.
Right.
And I just hope he makes the right one. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'd rather roll with Drew Lock of the year, even though we already know how I feel about it. I've been labeled the lock flogger. So
yes. He is the lock flogger. So.
But I'd rather take one more year of me flogging Lock than have a Matthew Stafford under center. It's that simple.
I agree. So, not sure. Did you guys address this question here?
That is one thing I don't have the ability to do. So once you drop off, I cannot bring up comments.
Oh, okay. So Sean brings up a good point. We know, and everyone knows D-Mac. He does love Josh Allen. With our team and our system and how it's been, do we think he would have been successful here if we drafted him? Or would we be sitting in the same lock type situation? What do you think, Alex?
I think he would have secured a place here in Denver probably his second year. I know that he's hasn't always looked the best, but I think that he had a little bit more talent and he looked a little more as a finished product earlier on in his career than Drew Lock does now. And I think that, I think John Elway, even with his terrible quarterback evaluations, would see that Josh Allen is going to be a great quarterback one day.
Well, what about the coaching though? I mean, coaching's a huge part of it, and I think that's why Josh has finally made that leap from year 2 to year 3, where he's just elevated his game so much. But if he's in this situation with this inept coaching that we've had around here, I mean, how does that help him more than it would help Drew Lock?
Well, we also got to there's some factors that we have to play into that. Josh Allen was more equipped to run that West Coast scheme coming out of college than what Drew was.
That is true.
Wyoming runs a whole different type of offense. They typically are run heavy offense with lots of play action. So it's a similar similarities to what we run here. We run the bootleg. We have a lot of play action. We run heavy. So there's a lot of similarities. So he may have came in and felt more comfortable, and that fluidity and chemistry would have built at a sooner rate potentially. So we may not have seen it. Who knows? We may not have even seen a coaching change or a quarterback change or offensive coordinator change at that point. We don't
That
know.
is true. Yeah, we
So
definitely
Well,
don't. So
that's why these
and another
conversations are difficult.
Well, and another thing I like to touch on, kind of going back to what Matt just said about the way we run things here in Denver. In Buffalo, they spread the ball out a lot more. I think that's what's taken him so long is to figure out how to run that spread offense, how to use all of the football field. And I think that it's just kind of been a learning curve for him about that. It's a lot different than what he would have been
Yeah, I mean,
used to at
realistically,
Iowa.
Wyoming's built a lot like Denver is. Wyoming doesn't attract your top 5 talents, your 5-star, your 4-star. They're more of your 2 and 3s for
right,
recruiting. So they're not built to go have, showdowns with, well, they're in the Mountain West. There's not really much to
right,
have a showdown with, but they're not going to go have Utah used to be over there. Was it Utah? No, Utah State. I don't know. That used to be one of
you,
their better ones.
yeah, Utah State. So
That used to be the best one out of that division, and they're also a run heavy, but they run weird option plays and stuff.
right,
So
so
that whole conference isn't built to really withstand gunslinging. But
all right,
yeah,
Sean Slade, you're sitting out there. You've been throwing us comments. What's your prediction on the game? We'll see what Sean
yeah,
comes up
yeah.
with. But
Yeah, he mentioned our buddy D-Mac. There's only one quarterback that D-Mac loves more than Josh Allen, and he there's a chance he's available next year. Who is it? Who's that, Dave? He's a young guy.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. That's his best buddy.
Yeah, boy, I'm glad D-Mac isn't our
Don't
GM.
don't bring that
So
man here.
here is Sean's
I'm
guess.
seeing ghosts.
Here's Sean's prediction at the game.
Oh, we lost Alex. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
we lost Alex again. You know what? I think Alex jumped off because it's almost prediction time, and he doesn't want to throw out his predictions. So hopefully he jumps back on. I think this is a huge game for Locke. I think this. Wow.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave that right there. So Sean says Denver 21, Buffalo 10. Anybody else that's out there, if you got a prediction, throw it up here. So, but I think this is a huge game, more important than the Carolina game, because I think Buffalo has a better defense than Carolina threw at us. And if Drew Lock really wants to start solidifying he's the future, and he gets the the nod next year as the starter going in, then he needs to have a good game here. So we got another prediction rolling in, 28-16 Bills. Don't know this user's name, so if you want, post that score again with your name behind it, so we know. That way we know who to look up afterwards, so we can make him possibly eat some crow. So anybody else out there, throw up your score predictions. We'll take them. But what do you think? How do you think this game plays into Locke's future? Matt or Alex?
I think it's a huge part of, if he stays here or not, because in these last 3 games that we have, including today, we're going to need to see something from him. We're going to need to see, he's going to have to basically give our coaching staff a reason to think that he's going to be the guy next year. I know that he's had a rough year. I know that there's been a lot of criticism on him, but he's got to shut those people out, and he's got to make do with what he has, and he has to go out there, and he doesn't have to be an all-star performer. He doesn't have to look like a Pro Bowler. There's no way that we're expecting that here, but he has to be consistent. He has to, do the right things in the right moments, whether that's throwing the ball to a check down or going deep with it, whatever it has to be. You have to follow that game plan, and you have to do what's in the best interest of the team. And I think if we see that, then Drew Lock could be the permanent guy here for the next couple of years.
Yeah, we touched on Wednesday, Dave, when we talked about it. Is I don't think it's so much of how well he performs stat wise or even with wins. It's going to be more on is this system that Pat Shurmur developed enough to keep Pat Shurmur here? And is Locke going to feel? Are we going to see Locke continue to become more comfortable and become or stay fluid like he was last week? Because if this game plan goes out the window and it's not working, then we're back at square one with Locke, and we're going to have to reevaluate options because we've already seen that him sitting in the pocket and trying to evaluate and running out of the pocket on his own, the mechanics and footwork just aren't there for him to be successful, and it would just be extremely difficult because if we lose this scheme and it blows up in our face and it doesn't work, then there's a good chance Pat Shurmur's not here, and then we're right back into the same situation of who's the coordinator. Locke's it just
Right. No,
it's
no.
all
And
it's more on
I,
Pat Shurmur than Locke right now, in my opinion.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think Locke deserves another chance. Me and you've had this discussion, Matt. I think Locke deserves another year, but I do agree. If Shermer's not here and we bring somebody else in, yeah, is Locke really that guy then? And do we bring in another OC? And then are you going to bring in a veteran who can probably learn that system a lot quicker? So I think Shermer is the wild card in this this situation here, and so he tinkered with the system. And me and Matt talked about this on Wednesday. We know what happened to the last guy who tinkered with the system. We went 4-1, but it was somebody's pride and ego who got in the way and said, well, you know what? You're not going to mess with the system, so you're out. So hopefully the same thing doesn't happen to Shermer. But only time will tell. All right, Alex, it's that time. We're going to let you go first.
All right. So I think that Drew Lock continues to build on his performance from last week. I think that he has a pretty decent game. Like I said before we got on the air, I think he goes for somewhere around 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just around 50% completion percentage. And I think that with the way our defense has been playing in the red zone, even if we do give it up to Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, I think that we come out on top. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a high-scoring football game. I'm going to go 31-27 Denver Broncos.
31-27. All right. Matt?
All right, I'm going to read my prediction because I think it sounds nice. So Buffalo rides into Denver, coming off the biggest win they've had in recent years, knocking off the Steelers. It was a great win for Allen and co. However, they overlooked the Denver Broncos and fall flat. Denver's defense tightens up coverage and sends the dogs after Allen, leading to a subpar performance of 180 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. Drew Lock builds off of last week's game. We continue to see him feel more comfortable with the short passing game. He continues to establish fluidity with his backs as receivers. Lock throws for 290 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick, and Denver sends Buffalo home with a L, 24-14.
Wow, 24-14. So we
Hey,
got 31.
That was nice. That was real nice. I like
that. Was nice. So
That's why I did it. It was better than what I got up here right now.
So Alex is 31-27. Denver 24-10. You said
14.
that 14. 24-14. So here's my keys. Drew Lock has to play like he played last week. Drew Lock cannot think that he has to match Josh Allen, and throw in these long down the field passes. Because that's just not Drew's strong point right now in his career. So what he needs to do is he needs to take these check downs, these intermediate ranges, screen passes, and execute it like he did last week. I mean, last week he completed almost 78% of his passes. Buffalo gives up almost 66% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks. So I think that, Drew Lock, if he stays patient, he can have another good day. I think one thing we are forgetting, and it has to be key in this game, is Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. Look at that twice today. And I said it right.
Yeah,
So,
no Lindsay Phillip. We would have lost the bet. I think we would have lost the bet.
Yep. We set the over-under that I would say Lindsay Phillip. I think we set it at 2.5. So, but I have not said it once today. But
it was 3.
It was 3. Okay, I'm sorry. It was 3. So Phillip, Lindsay, and Melvin Gordon, I think, have to be a key component of this game. And then our defense, they just don't give up the big plays. Don't give up the backbreakers. We know Stephon Diggs is going to get his catches. We know Beasley's probably going to get his catches. And please don't make this game come down to a field goal at the end. Please, please, please. So, but I have Denver's. I got to finish up here. Oh, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
One more thing that I want to throw in there before you finish up your prediction is just one of the key things that we have to remember is the long ball. How many times is Drew Lock going to throw deep? Because if it's more than 10, then we're doing something wrong. So just keep that in mind.
That is a good thought process there. Yeah, we need to put the pressure on him, not allow him to sit down back there and allow those deep routes to form. So, but I think that Denver's defense, and look for Justin Simmons, who I think it was last week, hashtag pay J Sims, just pay the dude, man. Come on, Elway. Get out your checkbook, sign the guy to a long-term contract because we need him. But anyway, I think Denver's going to win the game 27-23. In a tight one, I think Jay Sims is going to get an interception toward the end of the game to seal it. So all three of us picking the Broncos. Sean's picking the Broncos. We got Facebook user here. I'm not sure who it is, picking 28-16 Bills. So everybody enjoy the game. Matt and I will be on at halftime. So that'll probably be game starts at 2:30. So somewhere around 4 o'clock, I'm thinking, but just watch for us to go live. Not sure what Alex's plans are, if he's going to be able to jump on or not. And then Matt and I will also be on after the game. And Alex, you're welcome as well. So I'll send you the invites. And if you can get on, you can get on. But anybody got any parting shots before we get out of here and take care of some house chores before the game comes on?
I just want to shout out my buddy Tyler Tober, who last week interacted with us a couple different times. Thanks for being a part of the show. Even though you're a Raiders fan, I appreciate you, man.
That's all right. The Raiders, their car broke down, man.
I got to get an Uber now.
Yeah. They better take an Uber. Oh, hey, speaking of that, Mariota played halfway decent.
He looked good.
He looked really good. So here's the question.
He sucked.
Here's the question. John Gruden doesn't like Carr anyway. Do you think Carr's gone next year? And if he is, how big are Elway's eyes getting right now?
Nah, he would stay away from that one. That's not his type of quarterback.
You sure?
He would stay away from Carr.
Okay. Right.
He's a smaller guy.
I thought he'd stay away from Joe Flacco too, but
Joe Flacco meets the height requirement.
Oh, that's what it is. It's height.
All a height requirement.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Drew Lock's stuffing the socks in his shoes to make sure he gets up there.
What did Vance
He's got the platforms on.
What Vance say? He's tall.
Yeah, he's a tall quarterback, strong arm.
That's all we need is a tall quarterback with strong arm. All right, everybody enjoy the game today. Matt and I will be on at halftime to talk about the first half. Maybe Alex will join us, and then we'll be on after the game, an hour after the game. So we will see you all later on. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
We'll see you guys later.